We are incredibly busy every day, and the pace of life is often frantic. Our minds are always busy, and we are always doing, going, giving, or even thinking about something. We have kids pulling at our time. We have to get up and go to church. We have a smartphone in our hands. How do we have time for peace? How do we have time to spend with God? How can we make time for the most important things in our lives? So take a moment to think, when is the last time you did nothing? Now imagine for a second if God actually commanded us to rest. What would that look like? God has answered this question in the Bible, and He calls it Sabbath. It is a day where we do not pursue our own pleasures, we do not work, we do not prepare, do nothing but study about Him, think about Him, praise Him, love Him, nothing but focus on God. My name is Chad Gleaves. Stick with me to the very end of this video. I have a special one-time offer to give you. This offer is not available anywhere else. Once it's gone, it's gone. I remember when I first started having questions about the Sabbath. I looked at the issue of Sabbath for 5 or 6 years, just studying Sabbath and looking at it in the Bible. And I couldn't figure out why I didn't know anyone who was practicing Sabbath. So being raised a good independent Baptist and currently being staffed at a Southern Baptist church, I didn't know anyone who actually observed Sabbath. So as I began to study this, I came to the firm conviction that Sabbath had not been done away with. I had grown up in church all my life, and I did not know that God still wanted me to observe Sabbath. So I started to ask questions of other people and found out there was a Jewish Christian gathering in our city. And so I called the head of the group, Wayne Ingalls. We met at a Starbucks and began to talk, and I just asked him, "Do you believe Sabbath is for today?" We talked for over 2 hours, and I walked away even more convinced and convicted that the Sabbath was for me and my family. I ran this by my wife, and of course we had already been talking about this for a while, and she said yes, that we should begin observing Sabbath. Our first Sabbath came, and it was a disaster. I couldn't put down my iPhone and iPad because I was bored out of my mind. We had no idea what to do, and it was the most horrific, mind-changing event that we had experienced. One moment it was awesome and incredible, and at the same time it was very scary, and we had questions about what do we do with our kids, what do we study on Sabbath, what do we do on Sabbath. All these questions were going through our minds, and we didn't know where to begin. Within a couple weeks, it occurred to my wife that she could start writing a blog about our Sabbath experience to connect with other Sabbath believers so that we could continue learning about Sabbath and what it was. So my wife began to write a blog on Sunday after our Sabbath experience, and through that blog, the Sabbath Challenge, we learned so much from the input of those who had been doing this for 30 and 40 and 50 years. Her blog quickly grew from 0 to well over 5,800 people. Every week we learned more from our personal Bible studies and from our newfound friends. We began to relax on Sabbath. We noticed that our children began to play better alone. We began to learn what to do and what not to do on Sabbath. About 6 months into our journey, we began to notice a difference in our lives. We noticed a new joy and anticipation for Sabbath and spending time alone with God. We noticed a blessing in our families and in our lives that were not there before. We experienced more peace during the week. I think what the most surprising thing that I found out in this experience was that I had run my life in a hectic, frantic pace. And for the first time in my life, I began to understand and know what peace was. This one thing has transformed my entire life and my business life. I now expect peace in every area of my life. And when there is not peace, I know instantly that there's something not right. If I do not have peace in my finances, for instance, I know that I need to go look at my finances and correct it. If there's not peace in my home, then I know that there's a problem in my home. If there is not peace in my relationships, then I know there is a problem I need to address. Before Sabbath, I just thought that chaos was a way of life. Although that is awesome and has made a profound effect on my life, there is a bigger gain. We as a family began spending hours reading about God and significant time praying. We were now able to consistently spend large amount of times with God. After some time, we began seeing people eager to learn more about Sabbath from us. My wife and I decided to put that information that we had learned into a magazine for people that were beginning the Sabbath journey, especially during those first 2 years. So we began to pull information from different ministries, from different places, from different websites, and we had put all of this information into a magazine, Sabbath Rest Magazine. The Sabbath Rest Magazine is kind of like a summary of what we've learned in these past years observing Sabbath. If you're struggling right now to know where to begin your Sabbath journey or to know where to take your Sabbath keeping, we have a solution for you. The Sabbath Rest Magazine pulls together articles each month that will encourage you to continue following after God, to continue pursuing God, to continue spending time with God. This is what I believe Sabbath is all about, being with God. We pull together articles that encourage you to spend a quiet 25 hours alone with God from sundown on Friday to sundown on Saturday. This may be the first time you have ever been confronted with the fourth commandment, and Sabbath Rest Magazine makes it so easy to pick it up and get the stories that will encourage you in your walk with God, to encourage you to observe the fourth commandment, Sabbath. We provide articles that are from many denominations, from Seventh-day Adventists to Hebraic roots to Episcopalian and yes, even Baptists. Some of them even observe Sabbath. I believe God is drawing out people from all denominations to begin to observe Sabbath in the way He intended. Let me talk to you a minute about the authors in our magazines that we have. Yara C. Young. Yara C. Young. She is a grandmother that has been writing and speaking for a number of years, but her specialty, and she writes for our magazine, is on the family. She talks on topics like why we should eat around the table, particularly during Sabbath, the importance of family routines, and other family topics. And some of my favorite articles that Yara has submitted to our magazine have been those that have talked about how to streamline and make your family more efficient, particularly in the area of Sabbath, that preparation during the week to prepare you for Sabbath. And then Lisa Gleaves, yes, I must have full disclosure here. She is my wife, and she writes a blog called The Sabbath Challenge. And what it does is it follows week by week her challenge to follow Sabbath. And Lisa's heart has been to research the Word and find out what the complete Word says about following Sabbath. Jim Staley. Jim Staley's a pastor in Missouri. He is one of those guys, a young man, 38 years old, and he is just on fire for God. And he gives a message consistently about how and why the Sabbath rest is still for today. He goes in depth into the verses that are in the Bible, but more than that, he knows the history behind why things changed. He knows the history of Paul in a way that we can understand some of his hard to understand writings. Some of Paul's writings just seem to conflict with each other, and as we know, the Bible does not conflict. So how do you understand some of these things that Paul has that seem to be just, bipolar in some sense? One second he's saying one thing, and seems like the next second he seems to be saying something different. Jim has an amazing ability at showing us how to bring everything together into one solid consensus. Another author is Aubrey Duncan. Aubrey is a great guy. I've gotten to talk to him on the phone several times, and we've talked on different projects and things. And he's an author that has written a book called God's Sabbath Truth. I am currently reading this book right now, and I have read the articles he submitted to our magazine. I'll tell you what Aubrey has done for me is to show me how things have changed from going to being a Saturday Sabbath to a Sunday Sabbath, and why that changed. He's one of the guys that like to study history and shows how that happened. But more than that, it's a systematic study that will encourage you and show you and give you the strength to stand for a Saturday Sabbath. If you read this book, you'll walk away with a clear understanding of why Sabbath was changed and why it needs to go back to Saturday. Another person writing for us is Terry Carpenter. Terry is an interesting young lady. Terry is a mother of 4 and a grandmother of several. And she hasn't told me how many grandkids she has, but she came to Christ later in life, past the age of 40. And in that process, just from her own Bible study, she came to the conclusion that Sabbath was for her, much like us. And Terry began to devour the Word and study the Word, and she came to these conclusions just by reading the Word. You know, imagine that, just reading the Word, being able to understand it. And through that, all her life, she had been so busy with kids, she had never fulfilled her dream of writing. And today, she is writing for us each and every month these amazing articles on Sabbath, and from perspectives that I have never seen given by anybody else. It's almost like because she didn't grow up in the church, she has this fresh look from the outside on Sabbath, and I just love reading her perspectives on Sabbath. And then we include people like Rabbi Eckstein. I like Rabbi Eckstein because he is a middleman. He helps Jews understand Christians, and he helps Christians understand Jews. He's a middleman that goes and helps, kind of a liaison. One of the articles that he submitted to us is why we don't work on Sabbath. And it's a short 3-minute article, but it nails it. It tells us exactly why we shouldn't work on Sabbath. And so these and many more are writing for our magazine. And these are some of the best authors on the topic of Sabbath available today. They've been writing for years, and they are here to help you in your Sabbath keeping. Now, at the time of this recording, our magazine has not been out for 3 months yet. It's about 2.5, a little bit less actually. And so I was really pumped and excited when I got this written back to me just the other day. Kathy shares with me, "Thank you," and this is a quote, "Thank you, I just love your magazine. I swipe my hubby's iPad to read articles over and over." And Kathy, thank you for that. And that is the response that we're getting for those that like to read about Sabbath, encourage Sabbath keeping. They have been so supportive, and thank you so much for your support. God has put on my heart to make this message available to everybody. I want to make sure that no one misses the Sabbath Rest magazine. I'm going to ask you to join me, and I guarantee you that you will be able to afford the Sabbath Rest magazine. Here is my special offer that I promised you earlier. I am giving the Sabbath Rest magazine to you for a pay-what-you-want offer. You can pay what you want each and every month for the Sabbath Rest magazine. Yes, you heard me right. You can pay nothing, and I will be excited for you just to read it. You can pay $5 a month, and that will tell me that you support getting Sabbath to the world. Or you could pay $20 a month, and that would tell me that God has put it on your heart to seriously help our ministry move forward. You might be asking why I would make this kind of offer. Here's why. The people that need it may not be able to pay for it. If that is the case, it's yours for free. I will give it to you each and every month for free, and it's yours to take. I just want you to read the message. For those that are able to pay, I have a tremendous amount of expense that goes into creating this magazine every month, and I am looking for people to come alongside me and join me and help me get the message out about Sabbath. So when you pledge $5 a month, thank you so much. That will go a long ways to help me get the message of Sabbath out to the world. Another option would be to subscribe for more, and it's totally up to you. Let's say you did $20, and I feel like that person has a heart the same as mine to really get the message of Sabbath out. If you have that same heart to get the message of Sabbath out to other people, to get that message out to the entire world, anybody that has a computer, would you join me and pledge $20 a month? You will get the issue each and every month delivered to your computer right over email. Now, let me explain the timer below. Here's the thing. If you sign up today, you will have the option to pay what you want. But once the timer below runs out, this opportunity will have passed, and you will only have the option to pay a standard rate of $2.99 a month for the magazine. Now, I may not be a good salesperson because every time I've heard this kind of talk in the past from high-pressure salesmen, the next line usually goes like this: if you don't buy today, the price will double, triple, or quadruple. At least that's what I hear. No, I want to be totally honest with you. If the timer runs out, I am not going to raise the price sky high and scare you. I will make everything available to you at a simple low price of $2.99. Will you lose the option to get the magazine for free? Yes. Will you lose the option to pay more to help this ministry move forward? Yes. Will I charge you an outrageous price? No, not at all. $2.99 will be the price if you cannot take advantage of this offer before the clock runs out. So if you want to help you and your family grow closer to God, if you want to help you and your family learn how to rest in God, if you want to help bring God's commandments to people around the world in a big way, sign up today. One more thing, when you sign up today, you will get access to this month's magazine immediately. You will be able to download a PDF version of this magazine right to your computer right now with no delay. And as an added bonus, you will also have access to every monthly issue that we have done up to this point. If you are ready, once you push submit, you will have 3 more pages to go through. And let me explain why there's 3 more pages. On the next page, you will receive an offer for a book entitled Claim God's Sabbath Blessings. Now, this is written by my wife, Lisa Gleaves. This was written to help you begin your Sabbath journey right. We have taken all of our Bible study in the past 2 years and put it in one place to make it easy for you to glean what we have researched over the past 2 years. Again, this will also be a pay what you want. This is a special book that normally would cost $12.99 on Amazon, but we are offering it to you as a pay what you want option. Now, on the second page that you're about to see, I give you the option to share this message that you're listening to right now on this page with your friends through email, Facebook, and Twitter. This way you can easily share this opportunity with other friends that have an interest in Sabbath keeping. And finally, there will be a third page, which will be a simple checkout page. If you want all of this for free, then you will just need to fill out some basic information. If you have put in a dollar amount, your total will be totaled, and you can then pay out. Thank you for joining me. I look forward to you becoming a part of our magazine. Talk soon.